need 2 fingers on 2 different hands. Ready? 2 fingers on 2 hands. So, let's start by putting those fingers as close as we can together. Now, without hitting the person beside you, now put those fingers as far apart from each other as possible. Now put them about halfway. Now close together. Now think about it for a moment. Every relationship you have in life, every single relationship you have with another person, relationships are dynamic. It can be close. It can be not so close. It can be light years away. Amen?
Amen.
Can you think of someone in life with whom you have a close relationship? Some people in life you have close relationships with. Can you think of someone in life that you really you'd be happy not to have a relationship with that person? Can you think of people where you're somewhere in the middle and you'd like to have a better relationship? Because I tell you what, relationships are like that. They're dynamic. They're constantly moving. Have you ever noticed that? In any relationship, we could be this close one day, and the next day we see them because of something we said or did, or something they said or did. We could be like this. Amen? Relationships are just that way. They're dynamic. They're dynamic. We're close to some people and not so close to other people. And with the desire to grow in relationship with other people, and with the desire to push other people a little farther away. Amen? That's how relationships are. They're really dynamic. Which is why I love today's reading. Because today's reading implies that God, when God created us, didn't create us to be alone. Instead, God created us to be in relationship. And what a beautiful thing when 2 people look at one another and decide, you know what? I'd like to be in relationship with you, maybe even for the rest of my life. Wow. That's big. To commit yourself to another person for the rest of your life? Has anyone here done that? What are y'all thinking? But how interesting, in today's first reading from the book of Genesis, when God created Adam, the earth creature, the first earth creature that existed, how interesting, that means from the earth. And then God divided that creature into 2. Suddenly we had male and female, and what happened? The 2 of them looked at one another and said, and the 2 became one. What a beautiful ideal for any of us to look around this world and to wonder to ourselves, is there anyone with whom I could be one with that person? In the church, we tend to refer to that as married life, but let's just be honest, it's the 21st century, so lots of people are 2 becoming one even without the sacrament of marriage. 2 become one. So are there any married couples in the room who are willing to confess that maybe when we first met that person, we were like this, right? We were like this, right? But then what happens over time? Sometimes we start to grow farther and farther apart. It's one of the challenges of relational life. In any relationship, every relationship is dynamic. We're not always like this, amen? In every single relationship, whether it's with our parents or with our children, with our spouse, with our friends, with our enemies, there are different times when we're in different places in that relationship. Today's second reading talks about the suffering that Christ endured. Isn't it true that some of the suffering that we endure is often because of those relationships that are moving farther apart? Whether that's with our kids, or our parents, our spouses, our friends. When we're together, it's joy. And when we find those relationships moving farther apart, ouch. Ouch. I wish we could be one again. Which brings us to today's gospel, because today's gospel uses the D word, divorce. Jesus lived in a very different world. 2,000 years ago, his knowledge was limited by that world in which he lived. But how interesting that the Pharisees come to Jesus with one question. And did you hear how he answered it? The question was, is it lawful for a man to divorce a woman? Is it okay to be divorced? Pull out the gospel again. What did Jesus say? Moses permitted it. Meaning, there is that point where two people are one, and how beautiful that is. But if those two people have grown so far apart that there's no possibility of ever getting together again, you know what? Moses, who gave us the law, permitted those two people to go their own way. Now, the ideal, says Jesus, is that the two become one. But what I love about the American Catholic Church is that we also know how people are. And we also know how people have been in our lives, that we have relationships that are so dynamic that maybe we love a person one day, and maybe 5 or 10 or 15 years later we find ourselves just at a point where it's better for us to go our own ways. Amen? Go your own way. Amen? I think one of the challenges for us in life is to figure out where we are in every single relationship we have, and to see if there's not a possibility of getting one step closer to that person. Follow me? Think of every single relationship you have in life today. Where are you? How close or how far apart are you? And what can you do in each relationship to get a step closer? I know how relationships are. Sometimes we try to take a step closer, and what happens? They take a step back. We take a step closer, they take a step back. But you know what? The Christian life, this love and forgiveness and peace that we talk about all the time, it's about us always taking one step more and seeing if we can find a way to make it work. God put us on this earth together, all 7 billion of us. Can we get along? Brothers and sisters, I love today's readings. Ideally, we live as one, all of us. But we also know how human beings are, saying and doing things that sometimes drive us apart. This week, let's think about all those relationships we have and where we're at and what we can do to take one step closer to each one of them.